So let me say it again. Congratulations. What a glimpse of Amazon Frontlines and the work they do. I had the honor this summer to meet with Amazon Frontlines co-founders Nemonte and Mitch, and I know you will all be impressed and moved by their passion and their commitment, by their resourcefulness, and the strength of their moral compass. All the themes of this morning run through their story. Radical kinship, proximity, the power of lived experience, and the courage to tackle big systems and the grit to win. Now, their story also includes authentic collaboration, marriages of cultures, approaches, and people, and that I think Amazon Frontlines manifests these all beautifully. So as we begin the 2024 Hilton Humanitarian Prize ceremony, I want to invite to the stage to continue to reflect on this important work, Hilton Foundation Board Chair, Linda Hilton.
Thank you, Peter. One of the Foundation's program area is safe water, and we've been investing in that for over 30 years. Our goal is ensuring that communities have reliable access to sustainable, safe water, and it is nice to share that commonality with Amazon Frontlines. Their innovative way of capturing the rainwater and filtering it to provide clean water to their communities is truly admirable. And now I am thrilled to invite a special guest who cares deeply about this issue to present this year's Hilton Humanitarian Prize to Amazon Frontlines, and to share a few remarks about why it's so significant about what this organization does. So guests, please join me in welcoming to the stage the Academy Award-winning actor, environmentalist, as well as the founding board member of Ray Wild, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today at the 2024 Hilton Humanitarian Prize ceremony. It is my great honor to speak about Amazon Frontlines and Nemonte Nenquimo, an incredible leader in the fight to protect the Amazon rainforest, a forest upon which all of our survival depends. Amazonia holds approximately half of the planet's tropical rainforests, up to a quarter of its biodiversity, 123 billion tons of carbon, and drives regional and global weather. Nemonte is a proud member of the Waorani Nation of Ecuador, an indigenous community that has lived in harmony with the Amazon for generations. She is a fierce advocate for indigenous rights and environmental justice, and her leadership has been instrumental in the ongoing battle to protect one of the world's most vital ecosystems from the threats of extractive industries like oil, cattle, and mining. In 2019, Nemonte led her people in a landmark lawsuit successfully halting oil extraction on 500,000 acres of Waorani territory in Ecuador. This achievement not only safeguarded their land, but it also sent a powerful message about the importance of indigenous leadership in conservation efforts. Her work has inspired countless others and has earned her international recognition, including being named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people, and recently releasing her book, We Will Be Jaguars. Nemonte is also the leader of Amazon Frontlines, an organization she co-founded which is dedicated to defending indigenous rights and the Amazon rainforest. Amazon Frontlines works hand in hand with indigenous communities to support their struggle for territorial autonomy, cultural resilience, and environmental conservation. By empowering these communities with the tools they need to protect their lands, Amazon Frontlines is playing a key role in the fight against climate change. I first met Amazon Frontlines Executive Director Mitch Anderson through our shared work at the Clearwater Project and Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation. Formed in my garage 25 years ago alongside my mother, who's in the audience here tonight, Ermeline DiCaprio, and Justin Winters, who is also here. LDF supported Mitch's Clear Water project to help provide access to clean water for indigenous villages affected by oil contamination in the upper Amazon. 4 years ago, I merged LDF with Dr. Wes Seacrest Foundation to create Rewild, to unify conservation action directly to programs and partners on the ground. Since then, we have continued our long-term partnership with Amazon Frontlines, which is emblematic of the incredible work by indigenous leaders and organizations all across 9 Amazonian countries. It is a privilege to share this space with Nemonte and to learn from her journey. Her voice is an acute reminder that the solutions to our interconnected crisis of climate, biodiversity, and human well-being already exist, and it is rooted in the knowledge and the resilience of indigenous peoples, the true stewards and protectors of our natural world. So please join me in honoring the 2024 Hilton Humanitarian Prize recipient, Amazon Frontlines, with co-founders Nemonte Nenquimo and Mitch Anderson, along with Hilton Foundation President and CEO Peter Laugharn and Board Chair Linda Hilton.
Closer? All right. You're the man, dude. Eres pájaro, dude.
Me merina ni ke gai mai no, me merina ni ke gai mai no, me merina ni ke gai mai no, me merina ni ke gai mai no. Ey 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 ey, me merina ni ke gai mai no, me merina ni ke gai mai no. Ey 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 ey. Mi nombre es Nemonte Nenquimo, soy una mujer guarani y madre y líder.
My name is Nemonte Nenquimo. I'm a Warani woman, a mother, and a leader.
Mi cultura siempre somos cantores, históricos, felices. En nuestro territorio vivimos siempre felices, siempre tenemos que expresar con el canto, siempre estamos conectados espiritualmente. Eso necesitamos ahora más que nunca, estar conectados, estar felices, estar en paz.
My people, the Warani people, we are singers, we're storytellers, we're dancers. We're connected spiritually to the earth through joy, through happiness. And that's what we need now, more than ever, across the world. Joy, spirituality, connection.
Ahora hablan mucho de cambio climático. La gente del mundo tiene que ver huracanes grandes para hablar cambio climático. Pero nosotros como pueblos indígenas estamos conectadas con la tierra muy cerca. Sabemos qué quiere decir la expresión a la madre naturaleza. Hoy en día en nuestro territorio vemos algo muy pequeño y ya no está dando fruto, que normalmente puede dar fruto para alimentar a los monos. Y ya no está dando el tortuga que se puede dar huevo, este año no ha dado. Entonces, ¿qué significa eso? Nosotros pueblos indígenas sabemos algo bien pequeño, conectamos, sabemos y decimos que la madre naturaleza está expresando, está llorando, está con sentimiento, necesita que los gente podamos a conectar, podamos a amar, podamos a respetarla.
For us, indigenous peoples, we don't need hurricanes, floods, huge weather events to know that Mother Earth is trying to talk to us. She's communicating to us. Because as indigenous peoples, we're the closest to the land. We're listening to her breath. My father tells me that right now in the Amazon, the trees aren't fruiting as they should. The monkeys are coming down and raiding the gardens. The river turtles aren't laying eggs on the beach. Seemingly small changes in the face of a hurricane or a flood, but for us, it's Mother Earth's language. She's crying. She's waking us up. And that's what I'm here to say today to all of you, that we need to listen to Mother Earth. We need to understand that the climate crisis is the language of our planet, and she's trying to talk to us.
Ahora el lanza de nuestros ancestros no es suficiente. Entonces, para eso nosotros hemos formado Alianza Seibo, Amazon Frontline. Hemos hecho una organización que es fines de lucro, que es integrado con los pueblos indígenas y no indígenas, que son cineastas, que viene a otro lugar con el conocimiento del mundo, con el conocimiento de los pueblos indígenas. Hemos conformado ese modelo para poder enfrentar lo que viene la amenaza día a día en mi territorio.
For hundreds of years, for thousands of years, my ancestors used spears to protect their lands, to defend their territories. But we know nowadays the spears aren't enough to protect our territories, to protect our rivers from the threats that we're facing. And that's why we've created the Seibo Alliance, Amazon Frontlines. That's why we've joined forces between tribes, between cultures across the Amazon, but also with folks from the cities around the world, with conservationists and forestry experts, filmmakers and lawyers, to create a collective, a collaboration that can protect the forest, that can lift up indigenous people's stewardship, because that's what we need more than ever, is union and strength to protect our lands.
Pues ahora con ese reconocimiento de Hilton estamos felices. Mi cultura, mis ancestros nunca han sido reconocidos, nunca existe premio, nunca existió dinero, pero ahora con la amenaza de este sistema del mundo a nuestro territorio es peligro, porque los pueblos indígenas, todos pueblos indígenas, somos que vivimos dentro de la naturaleza, tenemos amor, tenemos respeto por miles de años, hasta ahora en nuestra casa no destruimos. Jamás pueblos indígenas vamos a destruir el agua, vamos a contaminar el aire, vamos a contaminar el agua para la vida de nuestros hijos. La selva es todo, nos da vida. Entonces, el mensaje que estoy dando aquí es, la amenaza que llega es no solamente que llega dentro del territorio indígena, sino este sistema. Para cambiar para cambiar cambio climático tenemos que trabajar desde esta comunidad. No debemos invertir lo que hace daño a la naturaleza. No debemos consumir lo que destruye nuestra casa. No debemos permitir. Tenemos que empezar a sacrificar, a entender, abrir nuestro corazón. Todo lo que hacemos nosotros pueblos indígenas es para nuestros hijos, para vuestros hijos. Estamos conectados con la tierra, estamos conectados con el aire. Aire, sin tierra, no vamos a existir. Entonces, para eso estamos aquí. Esto es mi perspectiva como mujer, porque yo vengo desde la selva para decir tan claro el mensaje: nosotros no somos destruidores, nosotros respetamos, Nosotros amamos.
I got this. There were never any prizes in our cultures. We've never been recognized by the world for what we do day in and day out over centuries to protect our lands, protect our connection to the lands, protect our territory. We didn't have money. That didn't exist either. And I'm honored that we're being seen and being recognized by the Hilton Foundation, by this prize, because we've never been seen before. And what I'm here to say is that indigenous peoples, we never polluted our rivers. We never destroyed our home because it's our home. Why would we destroy it? And so what we're going to do with this prize is we're going to continue day in and day out battling the threats that our people face in our lands. We're going to continue to build strength and union amongst our peoples across the Amazon. We're going to continue to build strength and union with all of you. We're going to continue to grow this collective of activists, of leaders, of thought leaders, of indigenous community leaders to protect this forest. But if the system of consumption, if the system here also doesn't change radically, we're going to continue to have to face these threats to our lands. We're going to have to continue to win these battles to protect our territory. And the climate crisis is also going to continue. And it's going to continue affecting the entire Amazon rainforest. And so what I'm here to say is I want all of you to create community here, to build consciousness here, to open your hearts here, because we're all in this together, and this is the one planet, our mother, that we have. So thank you.
Voy a dar un paso a mi esposo, también que viene de este mundo. También ha vivido con nosotros y ha respetado a nuestro pueblo y juntos hemos hecho un gran trabajo. Entonces, si no él hubiera venido a vivir con nosotros, no hubiéramos estado aquí. Entonces voy a dar palabra a él. También él merece de este trabajo muy duramente últimos años que hemos estado enfrentando juntos.
So now I'm gonna give the mic over, give the words over to my husband, so he could speak. He comes from here. He doesn't come from the Amazon, and but he learned to live with us, and he learned our ways. And he deserves to speak too. Talking about myself in the third person right now. Gracias. Wow. Well, this feels like a dream, because I have been gone for a long time, living in the forest with Nemonte and her people, many people that I love. communities that are fighting for their homelands. Before I begin, I just want to thank Leo, old friend, who was with us in the very beginning when we started Amazon Frontlines. And I remember when we met, I don't know why we were talking about this. I feel kind of embarrassed. Maybe I asked this question or maybe not, but somehow he told me what his favorite things are. And I don't know if I asked him that question or not, but he said, at first he said, acting and environmentalism. And then he paused. He said, reverse that. Environmentalism and then acting. Protecting the planet and then making movies. And he lived up to that. He helped fund us in the very beginning, and every time there was a moment where we were in dire need, or there was a moment when communities were organizing to protect their lands against oil rounds, against mining, he had our backs. Because there can be no health, social justice, welfare on a dying planet. There can be no acting either on a dying planet. He knows that, so thank you, buddy. I want to just share, I'm not from the Amazon, obviously. I'm from California. I'm from here, not from, I think it was Vermont and Maine, but I'm from Marin County, which is also a very white place, northern part of San Francisco. White not just in skin color, but also just assumptions, privilege. And it took me a long time to understand that. And it was indigenous peoples across Central and South America, especially in the Amazon, that taught me to see, taught me about what I didn't learn growing up in Marin County. The first time I realized when I was a kid, turned on the tap and the water came out, but I didn't really know where it came from. Never planted my own food. Didn't know where the garbage went. Put it out on the side of the road. Definitely didn't know where the oil came from when we would stop at a gas station. Never thought about that. And it wasn't until I moved to the Amazon where I began to learn these things. The first thing that I learned, stepping foot in the greatest tropical rainforest on our planet, wasn't something mystical. It wasn't something about the medicinal plants, healing. It was about where oil comes from and what oil does to communities. Across Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia for more than half a century, the oil industry has been extracting what Nemonte and her people and indigenous peoples across the upper Amazon refer to as the blood of their ancestors, oil. And in extracting that oil, shipping it up to California to be refined, they leave devastation in their wake. Despoiled rivers and creeks, gardens, massive deforestation in the most biodiverse forest on the planet. And in the midst of all that, I met people. My friend Emergildo Criollo, a COFAN leader, wanted to be here. We started the water project together back in 2011. He lost 2 of his children. They were playing in the river. An oil spill came flooding down the river. He ingested oil and he lost both of them. And that man has dedicated his entire life to making sure that his people have access to clean water. And while doing that, he had the generosity of spirit to teach someone like myself that comes from this world here about life in the forest, about how to live a happy and healthy life, about how to laugh at yourself, how to be joyful in the midst of dealing with the destruction that our culture is participating in and complicit in. This prize is a recognition, as Nemo said, of all of the indigenous communities and leaders across the Amazon rainforest that are maintaining a 1,000-year-old connection to their language, to the spirits, to their land, to the rivers, that are protecting the heart pump, the lungs of the earth, their homes, so that we can all breathe, so that we can keep living. Now, I can say a lot of stats about what's happening in the Amazon right now. Over the last 30 years, an area much greater than Texas has been deforested, about 17% of the entire forest. Indigenous peoples, in the quiet of their homes, by firelight, talk about these small observations, seemingly small, about changes that are happening. They can see the light of a dead star, the light of a dead forest or dying forest. But Western scientists are also saying the same thing. We have 10 years, 15 years at this rate of deforestation before the Amazon rainforest approaches what's called a tipping point, which is a point of no return. It's a point where the Amazon begins to lose the ability to produce its own rain. It ceases to be a rainforest and begins this slow, horrible process of becoming a savanna. And the 300 indigenous nations, all speaking their own languages, with their own knowledge, with their own belief, their own joy, will lose their homes. And we will lose the greatest rainforest on the planet that holds the cures to unknown sicknesses, the next pandemic, addiction, depression, cancer. And if the forest falls, we can't stop the climate crisis. That's the thing. I could also tell you about everything we're going to do to protect this forest, how Amazon Frontlines is working with communities, working with civil society across the Amazon to secure indigenous guardianship over millions of hectares of land, how we're ramping up legal strategies to hold governments to account, to make sure they comply with their climate commitments, how we're working with governments as well to shape policy frameworks, to advance rights, to make sure that there are resources in communities, that they're funding education, that communities are building themselves, how we're going to work with women to recreate the economies, to create regenerative economies instead of extractive violence. And I can tell you the funding that we need to raise $10 million over the next 4 months to scale up our work and do the work so that Nemonte and I and our team doesn't have to continue fundraising. And we can do the work to protect the land, to protect the rivers, to lift up stories. But what I really want to say is Father Boyle today, Father Gregory, shared a message that turned our hearts into waterfalls. We talk a lot about cross-sector partnerships and government and private and all. At its core, it is about love. It is about building trust, learning to learn and unlearn. Because as Nemonte said, this isn't something that needs to wait for indigenous peoples to protect the forest. We're all in this together. And at Amazon Frontlines, we're going to be building out the next 10 years of our work, of our strategies, focusing on joy and spirituality and love and trust in our work. And we're so proud that the Hilton Foundation, that all of you here can see this, can see us. And so this prize is for all indigenous peoples around the world and all indigenous peoples in the Amazon that are fighting day in and day out. Let's join them. Let's work together. Thank you all with love. Vamos.